Now, I'm starting off with the challenges more so because taking the first step in pursuing STEM is where most of us have it very difficult. Let's start off with limited resources. Limited resources, not just money issues, which plays a huge role with funding, looking for what you call it, postgraduate studies scholarships. So it plays a huge role. But before you start crying about funding, the question is, how much information do you have right? And what aspect of the STEM are you most interested in that can play a huge role in you getting your path right? So few questions that I usually would advise anybody when navigating STEM or trying to convert their passion into a profession. You need to be more strategic. First question is, what aspect of STEM are you most interested in? How does that fit into your picture, your career-wise, on an immediate picture and on a long-term goal? What is it about this STEM that you want to capitalize on? Are you interested in STEM to build your portfolio for career advancement? Are you interested in STEM on a long-term basis where you feel like this is who you want to be and you need to have a career in STEM so you can reach your long-term goal? Or do you want to take a new step into STEM and then make STEM who you are? So these are some of the questions that you need to ask. Some of the challenges would be, where can I find these resources? Who do I talk to? Who would you consider good enough to have the knowledge to speak to about STEM? I think it's become much more easier compared to the past 5 years. Looking for resources in terms of information. Popularly, I would usually recommend LinkedIn. I really like LinkedIn a lot. I don't know for the rest of the team. But some would say it's an over-exaggerated social media space where we just brag about our rights and what we have achieved so far. But I believe that it's a platform filled with amazing networks, depending on who you're looking for, what you're looking for, and what you intend to find. Because everybody is trying to sell themselves on LinkedIn, they have their portfolio there. So if you are interested in epidemiology, you could just type in the search button epidemiology and they can give you resources of people who are rich in this particular field. You could go to their profile. It's not always limited. You could go to their profile, see their educational background, see their, their experiences. Sometimes it even allows you to read a little bit more about their projects, what they have been able to execute, for you to have a very good idea if this person fits your career choices or not. Another thing I liked about LinkedIn is, depending on what type of LinkedIn you're using in terms of what limitations or restrictions has been set for you or not, you can't connect with the person, send in a message, and then ask all the questions that you need. The other platform would be whenever you have let's say, have webinars like this. This is limited to a certain group of people because it's a fellowship program. But we do have some webinars which is open to the populace. You could join them and you'd always have a background of the keynote person over there. Now, I look at Dennis and I see PhD and I see his experience focused. I ask myself, is he similar to who I want to be, or is he in the direction of where I want to go to? It gives you an idea that I can reach out to him for guidance, for information, for connection. This is something that we tend to lack when we are trying to navigate STEM, because we don't tend to skew our mentality towards things like that. The second challenge that I would want to mention is no formal mentors. I didn't start off having a formal mentor. Finding your own path can be very tricky and unnecessarily long, which I experienced. Mostly because I wasn't too sure where my end goal was. Till I had in focus what I wanted to achieve, I had a winding path. And when I had in focus who I wanted to be or what the end goal was for me or what my medium-term goal was, it gave me an idea the kind of people I wanted to. It still goes back to my information, guidance, connections, putting all of them into perspective, then you can find a formal mentor. Now, a mentor does not necessarily have to be somebody that is overly academically there. Sometimes we are looking for professors, associate professors, PhD holders, people with a lot of experiences or accolades to say this is the kind of mentor we want to be. Sometimes your mentor can be somebody who is in, say, fourth year university level, or could be someone who is a little bit more higher level than you. It's about finding the person that best fits who you're looking for or what it is you wish to achieve. Looking for a mentor is not just about the career aspect, but you need to find somebody that psycho-emotionally can motivate you to be a better version of yourself. And sometimes they may be your closest ally. It could be your husband or it could be your parents. But from my experience, they're not the best because they're sometimes so opinionated. So finding someone in the academic field who's not going to say, you're using too much money, you're using too much money, or you're being too ambitious usually is a right recommendation for me. Don't be shy to send as many messages as you can. I do that. I don't know how many of us do that. But when you see someone that you admire and the person can relate to you, shoot your shot. Send a person a formal message or an email. Introduce yourself politely. Ask the person what it is you're looking for. Let's see how best the person can help you. It isn't just about mimicry. Remember, finding your own path. You may not be exactly who the person is, but you can have, shall I say, a blueprint of the person's life such that you can work around it. For me, working in Ghana, I knew I wanted to do more than just, I wanted to specialize in England. And I didn't really know how to move from Ghana to England. It was pretty much crazy because everybody had information on writing the US Emily, just moving from Ghana to US, which was the easier route. So I needed to find people who were immigrant medical graduates from Nigeria, some from Ghana who were already working in England, and to see what they had done, what exams they had passed, and then take it all from there. When I got to England, then I realized this wasn't the only path I could have taken. This makes it a lot longer for me because based on my years of experience, I could have just done a straight entry to specialty program based on certain portfolios or academic credentials I could have achieved, which I already had, but I didn't know. So you need to be a bit careful because you may think you found the right person that is where you want to be, but the person could have used a longer step, which may not necessarily be what is good for you. A little bit more, shall I say, being more tenacious and diligent in your research comes a long way in finding the right mentors and finding your own path. Now, balancing multiple roles and adapting to new fields would be one of the other challenge I will mention navigating is that most people get a bit confused. Should I erase who I am and then bring up the whole new me, which is somebody with a career in STEM, or should I combine the two? Some people would be from a different specialty entirely, that's a purely business person, and now wants to combine STEM to it. One thing you need to remember always is careers are such that no matter how independent they may look or isolated or disjointed they may look, there is always a midpoint that you can find a balance between these two careers. I'm in health and there is business, so there is health management. I'm in health and there is STEM, so there is public health. Adding my medicine, adding my business field from the Master's in Business Administration I've done, and the public health puts me into a place where I can do health policy. At the same time, I can be a healthcare entrepreneur at the same time, I can be a clinical consultant, or I can be as ambitious as I want to be and shoot a little bit further into the World Health Organization and United Nations programs. Balancing multiple roles needs to come in from your mind and deciding early on if you are good enough to balance the two. Remember, it's not just about rushing and ticking off boxes of who you are or what your career should look like, but it's about the practicality of the credentials you are acquiring for yourself, which helps a lot in navigating the challenges in STEM, because these are real life challenges that come. One thing I can assure you is when you have the answers to these things, you will learn to adapt to your new field. You will initially find yourself in a place where you may feel a bit unsure, like an imposter, but once you're able to navigate beautifully, you would eventually adapt to your new field, which is why I bring up some practical strategies for these challenges that I have mentioned. Now, I know I've elaborated a lot, so I'm just going to go straight to it. Be proactive in seeking information. Ask for advice, LinkedIn, events. You can also start small, we've got volunteerism. There are many people like Amelia and Ruth who are doing these non-governmental organizations and are trying. There are people who are well advanced in STEM, or let's say business, or even the technological aspects, who are always trying to give out to people starting their own non-governmental organizations. The problem is volunteerism. It's not appreciated much in Ghana than it is outside. But you see, when you look at the concept of volunteerism in these non-governmental organizations or government organizations, what you are building is experience. And one thing that STEM really likes is when a person's CV not shows only the academic achievement, but is able to show their non-academic skills, like your leadership skills, like how you are able to contribute to a smaller community all on your own. So volunteerism comes a long way. Short courses. We've got Coursera out there. Coursera has a wide range of short topics in STEM where people just keep acquiring skills as far as digital skills, learning how to code. So you need to equip yourself and become knowledgeable in which courses are free that I can. And just because these courses are there doesn't mean you need to spend all the time you have in the world just piling up certificates. Always be intentional. Which certification will be relevant to what it is I intend to achieve? How does this certification complement me? When someone sees me, this person goes like, you're a medical doctor, so why would you do a master's in public health, and why would you do master's in business administration? And I recently finished my postgraduate diploma in medical education. Somebody goes like, you're just getting all these certifications, why? But I need to get these qualifications because if I'm looking at the job that I'm looking at, I can bet you eligibility criteria will add these things to it. It will tell me it needs certifications in business administration. It will tell me it needs to have some form of public health or leadership skills. It will tell me it needs to see some elements of clinical education. And that is what I have. So to somebody, it looks like I'm just going in a merry-go-round. But to you as an individual, you have at the back of your mind what it is you wish to attain, not just in the present, but on a longer term scale. So you go for them. So if you're getting courses or certifications in STEM because you're trying to build your application to apply for a postgraduate study, what we call portfolio building, it should complement, it should make sense. It should, even if it is disjointed to a person's eye, you need to be able to sell the reason why you did this course. If it looks like an outliner to what STEM is, bring it to make sense to the person reviewing it. Okay, prioritize, focus, and always celebrate your small wins. I do that a lot. Sometimes my husband tells me I over-celebrate, but I like to celebrate my small wins. A career in STEM is very long. It isn't something like you're doing a technical skill for 6 months and that's the end of it. I'm sure Ruth is probably tired of schooling, but she's still schooling. And she just keeps, and she's like, I thought it would be done by now. So why am I doing this? I've got 2 masters, 1 postgraduate diploma, and I have a feeling I may probably consider PhD. And I know my husband's going to be like, no, you're not. So try to celebrate your wins as much as you can. Break it into steps, your small goal, your medium-term goal, and your long-term goal, and take it on from there. These are some of the practical strategies for the challenges that I experienced in my life as a STEM person. Now, leveraging digital skills was the other aspect of the presentation that Ruth wanted me to talk about. I would equally lean more towards Dennis in this field, mostly because he's a boy child. Forgive me, Dennis. Like, when people think about digital skills, they always want to think about the fancy ones. I can code, I know how to do Python and all of that. Come on. Simple data analysis. Once you've got that skill, it makes your life as a STEM person easier because these are the practical data analytical skills you need as someone who is looking for a career in STEM. Know how to use your Excel. Sometimes my consultant gets really impressed with me because he thinks you can really work out the Excel. And I'm like, it's part of my portfolio. People cannot use Excel as they should. They make it so hard, but it's not. And these are very easy data analytical skills that you can. If you go to Coursera, you get short courses on how to use Excel. Or you can find a boy child like Dennis and let him teach you how to use Excel. And we've got PowerPoint, like how we are using the PowerPoint. Having a career in STEM would always come about teaching someone, presenting someone, knowing how to use PowerPoint. You need to have PowerPoint skills, not to overload the content, be able to say what you want to say, keeping eye contact with the audiences. These may look like, come on, she's just talking about PowerPoint. PowerPoint saves lives of people who are in STEM because they always have to teach it. Teaching is part of being somebody in STEM. Let's go a little bit higher with the SPSS. That is with when you are acquiring research skills as somebody with a career in STEM. Research is not just 25% of your career. For me, research is 25% for me at this moment because I'm doing more of a clinical 75%, 85% STEM. So I do not have all the data analytical skills, but even with the 25%, I use SPSS a lot because it helps with research. It helps with your publications that you're looking for. And it saves you a lot of time. So instead of being too, I want to code, I want to do all of that, it is good. Dennis will talk more about it. My point is, if you don't have the coding skills, or you don't have all the skills you need to be an IT survey, try what you think is something you use a lot if you want to pursue the STEM career. And these are excellent data analytical tools. Then digital communication, like the Zoom, the Teams. I love Teams. It does more than just presentation. You can literally break into smaller groups and people will sort of do focus group discussion. And you could even do your Mentimeter where you bring up questions and people are sort of like answering and makes your presentations interactive. If you're going to be a STEM person, you need to know how to navigate Zoom and you need to know how to navigate Teams because Teams works more on a larger scale. So coding is good. Work on your data communication comes a long way. Online learning, Coursera, I love Coursera. There are other online learning. I think there's another one called, is it Allison? Yes, I think there's another one called Allison, which kind of gives people a lot of stuff like that. And YouTube. Ruth may not be on YouTube, but maybe Amelia is on YouTube. There are people who make their living on YouTube and they teach a lot about STEM. It may not just be about this, what we are talking about, but they could actually tell you about how to put in a good personal statement. Something as simple as writing a personal statement can actually get your full funding into your postgraduate degree, and you can find that on YouTube. So that is you leveraging your digital skills. And there is remote work and freelancing opportunities, which most of us are trying to do. It works better for all professions, I believe. You just need to find the right field that remote work would work for you. Most people say it works a lot in IT, but with the advent of telemedicine, it works really well for me. And sometimes on my free time, I do telemedicine, not to make money, which I would love to, but for now, let's call it volunteerism. Okay, so just to sort of ratchet it out through, getting started with digital skills, just identify one relevant skill. Okay, we've already brought up some of them. Learn with small online resources. Try to apply it to your work or your studies as often as you can. Now, I know some of you said you're doing your final year projects and stuff like that. You know what? Just apply it to your work or your studies. You don't need to make money off it. You just need to build on the skill. And initially, when I started typing when I was younger, I used to do this. Now, when I'm typing, I actually look straight to the board and I don't make any mistake. I'm not trying to be a braggart. That's because learning how to type, I had to apply it to my work and my studies, to my dissertations, to my presentations. Learning how to present wasn't about sitting in front of YouTube and just when Ruth gave me the thing, I told my husband, look, I need to finish this in the next 15 minutes because it's coming up in the next 15 minutes. And he's like, but you need to prepare. And I'm like, I agree, but wish me luck, all on God. It's not about coming in unprepared. I sound like I'm prepared, but I'm not so prepared. It's because I've been applying this to my work and my studies regularly. So practice makes perfect. So when I learn something online, I don't push it down there. You need to always try to apply it. Denise may have thought about leadership in the previous time, but ask yourself, since you went for the course, have you taken up any leadership position? Or are you still afraid to take up a leadership position because people will say you pray too much? You know, build the confidence over time because you will not even know when you're talking and you're looking at the person, not looking on your paper. The confidence will come over time because they say practice makes perfect. So these are the tips I'll give to you when you're starting with digital skills. It works all the time. Now, I took out the entrepreneurship because I was hoping that Dennis, I'm putting a lot of pressure on you, am I not? I do have a lot of I do have some ideas about entrepreneurship in STEM. The reason why I take that out is I haven't per se start up something like that on my own. And I tend to be more confident or sure when I know the technical know-how. So I could have taken up the topic and just spoken to you theoretically, but I felt like if somebody who is more used to it gives you that presentation, perhaps I would be able to complement my opinion on that. So forgive me if you do not see that slide. Opportunities in Ghana. So I cannot per se vouch for these opportunities, but these are the researches that I did. I tried to do as much research as I could regarding opportunities in Ghana, and these are the ones that I found that do offer some degree of scholarship for women in Africa or in Ghana looking for STEM, and that's the Get Fund Scholarship, the Techno Future Star Initiative. So I think Techno did this last year, 2024, 2023. There are pictures of them online. So look, one thing that anybody in STEM can assure you is when it comes to scholarship, it's not just there. You need to do a lot of research, a lot of work. So it's not just about me giving you information or opportunities in Ghana. You just want to go and you're going to get a full-time scholarship. No, it takes a lot of effort and responsibility in securing your scholarship. And what could be sad is when you get something like as good as a 70% scholarship and your bank balance still says that you got 0% scholarship because it's just not adding up. So you need to bear that in mind. We've got Vodafone Ghana STEM, Visions of Ghana STEM Scholarship, and there's UNICAF. So UNICAF is one opportunity in Ghana that I have personally used. It's more or less like an online STEM opportunity. It also goes into business and it goes into IT. But the reason why I like UNICAF is because the scholarship percentages are good. If you are limited strongly financially, you don't necessarily need to say, I can't pursue a career in STEM because you're not getting the kind of scholarship you need for an in-person. Sometimes when we think about STEM advancements, we only think of in-person. That is, you want to be on campus. But you can equally attain a STEM career through a hybrid course or an online full master's or PhD, not so online, but some people do their PhD online. I can't really say for sure which ones. So UNICAF is something you would like to look into. The other advice I'd like to give is when it comes to pursuing a career in STEM, if you can afford, If your scholarship is good, if your stipends is good, if the time works for you, try to go for an in-person as much as you can. But then again, if you cannot get an in-person, do not give up a career in STEM because you're not getting an in-person opportunity. Always try to look for an online opportunity. Most of us working simultaneously cannot even afford to sort of like dedicate 2 years of our life to one course when you're not getting the kind of salary you need to get. So I may be working in England, but my master's in business administration with University of East London, I did that as a hybrid course. So it was more or less like online. Then if I have to do my trip and stuff, I kind of like do the part, go there in person. So try to be a bit more workable with what works for you and not what does not really work for you. And do not limit your opportunities or the things you're looking for to be fully in person. It's nice to be in the universities, but ask yourself, you're going to spend about what, 70,000 US dollars to do your master's, and what if you don't get a career that should kind of like make it profitable? Then what are you going to do? So just weigh the two and balance it. Now, opportunities in the UK for STEM career. So we have the Chevening scholarship that I can vouch for. It's highly competitive, I'm not gonna lie, but they do have fully funded and it's really good. So you can have a look at it. Commonwealth scholarships too. I have personal experiences with them. I know them. British Council Women in STEM, yes. For the Great Scholarship Ghana, I'm sorry, I do not have personal scholarships with them or personal relationship, or I haven't seen anyone with that scholarship. So I can't really say for certain to what extent they are great for them, but they are one of the other opportunities in UK that came across. So feel free to have a look at it. And in the US, I'm familiar with the MasterCard Foundation scholarships, and there are the others, which I'm happy to share my slides if you're interested in. So this will be the end of my presentation.